This episode is more ufology focused, as we've come across a plethora of interesting footage and accounts of encounters that are new to us. So sit back and chill as we bring you this month's episode of our Top 5 Paranormal and Interesting Things, April 2020. The Illuminated Entities. In November 2008, the region around the Claudio city in Brazil saw what was described as a UFO wave over the course of 3 days. On the 19th of November at approximately 10 p.m, a woman called Renata Veloso Austriaco spotted a glowing hexagonal object in the sky from her apartment with 2 smaller objects rotating underneath it. It's reported that as the strange lights travelled over the city, the street lights in the Bella Vista neighbourhood turned off and continued so, block by block. Several other residents had witnessed the same thing from various other locations around the city, having reported that the strange objects flew over the city and appeared to land in the countryside along the banks of the MG260 highway. In awe of what she was seeing, she alerted Captain Eisenhower Gurek Austriaco, reportedly a platoon commander in the military at the time, who we understand to be her husband, came to the apartment window to see for himself. Concerned, Captain Austriaco called the police and ordered a vehicle to be dispatched to the perceived area of the landing site. As you'd expect, Captain Austriaco took command of the operation, but from his apartment window, and began collating a report of the encounter, where he documented an account from another neighbour and included it in his report. In the vehicle that was sent to investigate were Corporal Hamilton Jose Rebello and soldiers Balbino, Francisco and Renato. They couldn't see anything unusual at first, but just as they got the call to return to the station, Soldier Balbino, who was driving the vehicle, had spotted the UFO and alerted the others to its presence. Before the UFO disappeared, Corporal Rebello managed to take 3 photos with his phone, a Sony Cybershot with a 7.2 megapixel camera. According to the military report obtained by ufologist Edison Boaventura Jr., many other reports came in about other UFO incidents from around the region over the following 2 days. The report also mentions that other military personnel reported having seen 2 luminous entities of humanoid shape, just shy of a metre tall, glide through sugarcane reeds in the Povoado de Sao Bento region. They followed the beings in their vehicle at a reported speed of 12 miles an hour and observed that they didn't see any feet or fingers, just an oval head and arms and legs. What's even more peculiar, that although they appeared to glow, they didn't illuminate the ground or surroundings around them. One of the seniors present at this encounter, the Sergeant Waldir Silva, attempted to photograph what he was seeing, but it didn't appear in the images. The report goes on to say that the entities were observed examining the ground, whilst seemingly draining the men of physical and mental energy before leaving the area. Other reports from the area at the time include accounts of residents having seen other strange entities up until the UFO wave reached its conclusion 3 days later on the 21st of November. Extraterrestrial neighbours. A recent study by the University of Nottingham gathers what new information we have from various sources, such as our current understanding of the rate of star formations in the galaxy, and the discoveries by the now defunct Kepler telescope, and dives even deeper into the famous Drake equation, an equation on the probability of other intelligent life existing in our galaxy. The original Drake equation took into account what limited knowledge they had at the time, and combined it with the timescale of humanity's technological development and average lifespan. Even with the most pessimistic of values added to each step of the original Drake equation, there would have been several hundred possible civilizations scattered throughout the galaxy. With the new information available today, particularly with the amount of stars that have a planetary system, it's been found that there could well be several thousand civilizations like or more advanced than our own, with the closest civilization likely being 7,000 light years away, located at an M-class red dwarf star that has a planet orbiting in its habitable zone and is of a similar size to Earth. With the vast distance between us and them, our current technological abilities render any form of communication with inhabitants there impossible, assuming that life has formed or settled there and that they too use radio communications. The problem that we have with this study is that it uses humanity as the basis of measurement for the equation and fails to take into consideration that life may exist out there in ways we don't yet understand. But it is a step in the right direction for mainstream science to be more open-minded to the possibility of intelligent life existing elsewhere in our galaxy. If you're interested in reading this publication for yourself, a link to it can be found in the description box below. AI mind reading. If, like me, you were born in the late 80s or early 90s, reflecting upon the technology at the time, right up to the present day, you notice how fast and how much technology has advanced. We're now in the final stages of truly perfecting voice-to-text, or even AI's ability to understand our diverse languages and accents. But what about AI's ability to read our mind? It seems like the next logical step in technology, and it appears to be just around the corner, with researchers from the University of California, San Francisco exploring this field. The study is led by neurosurgeon Edward Chang, whose team exploited the use of brain implants in patients with epilepsy, which are used to monitor the seizures that they have. Devices that can interpret brain signals have been around for years, but have been very rudimentary in what they can do. Examples of such are located in various science centres around the UK, and I'm sure all over the world, where you can wear a headset that has sensors which detect your brain waves and allow you to control a metal ball to move along a straight line. You can even partner up with somebody and duel against them to see who can move it into their opponent's goal. But this study goes beyond that and interprets brain impulses and converts them into text with an accuracy of an eerie 95%. It's hoped that someday soon, this technology can be utilised by people with severe disabilities such as locked-in syndrome and enable them to communicate effectively with others. Could this technology evolve into some sort of artificial telepathy? Perhaps. Remember, if just a few decades ago you were to say to someone that you could hold a device in your hand that allowed you access to all of the world's information and knowledge at a moment's notice, you'd have been a little crazy, because the idea of such was impossible to achieve, let alone to think of at the time. Cusco UFO. In recent months, the South American continent has had a flurry of UFO sightings. Throughout April, loads of video footage has been appearing online of strange lights seen over the Peruvian skies, most notably from the cities of Lima and Cusco. We've chosen this case in particular as it's been confirmed by numerous sightings and clips uploaded onto the internet. Take a look. You can see that its flight is smooth and appears to be intelligently controlled as it stops before its brightness intensifies and finally disappears. We can see no obvious flashing or strobe lights, and when the camera tries to refocus on the street in front of it, it gives the illusion of a flashing light. The only possible conventional explanation that we can currently offer is that of a quadcopter mounted with a lume cube, a small cuboid light that's intensity can be controlled via its parent app. The only problem with this is that quadcopters normally have steady red and green navigational lights, though these could be covered and overpowered by brighter lights, and lume cubes emit light in one direction and can only be controlled via the app through Bluetooth, which would probably be beyond the range this anomaly is from a ground-based pilot. Having been to Peru myself, I can say that the natural energies of the earth there are intense, particularly at Machu Picchu, and I myself have witnessed an unexplained metallic orb above and behind a mountain peak a handful of miles away from Cusco Airport. But what was it that the locals saw? I'd like to know your thoughts below. The Mary Star Encounter. This is an old case, but not as widely known as you'd expect. In Saybrook, Connecticut, during the small hours of the 16th of December 1957, a lady known as Mary Star was woken from her sleep by a bright light coming from outside her bedroom window. As she got up to go to the window, she spotted an object which she first thought was, quote, a crippled airplane. But as she studied the object, she quickly came to realize that the crippled airplane was cigar-shaped with square portholes and was illuminated brightly. She described the craft to be hovering above the clothesline in her garden and that she could see figures moving on the inside of the craft. She estimated the size of the craft to be about 20 to 30 foot long and noted that the craft had no visible fins, wings, or means of propulsion. The occupants inside the craft seemed to be distracted with what they were doing and were estimated to be no more than 4 feet tall. They were described as having rectangular heads, which were a rusty red-orange colour and had what appeared to be a bright red light in the middle of their faces. One of the figures she witnessed inside the craft had slowly begun to fade, and at the same time, the hull of the object grew brighter and, with what was described to be as an antenna, rose up out of the hull and started rotating. It's estimated by the witness that this lasted for no more than 5 minutes before it retracted back into the hull, after which the craft started moving away from her. As it was moving, the shape of the craft morphed into an oval shape, while the portholes disappeared, having been replaced by circular lights. Then, as it looked to be returning to where Mary first saw the craft, it suddenly shot upwards and out of sight into the night sky. It's reported by the witness that the whole encounter was silent, with no apparent sound being emitted from the craft. As far-fetched as the story sounds, investigators at the time believed that Mary was a credible witness, due in part to her education at Yale University and being the holder of 2 degrees. Interestingly, 5 years prior to this encounter, a woman called Suzanne Knight from Maryland reported an encounter that shared many similar features with Mary's, though the witness of this particular case noted a buzzing sound coming from the craft. What are your thoughts on this? We hope you enjoyed this episode of our top 5 videos. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more videos as we release them. In the meantime, you can visit our website at nowufos.org and our social media pages by visiting our Recovered Facebook page by going to facebook.com/nowufos. You can also follow us on Twitter by visiting twitter.com/nowufos. Links to our website and social media accounts can be found below, along with the original sources and credits to the copyright holder of the music and the videos used. Until next time, keep believing the truth is out there.